Hi, I am Bernd Kiltz and this is my English YouTube channel. This is the first video on the channel in about, I would say, 3 years, and I'm trying to revive that channel, but you came here for something else. So the subject today is basics of fretboard orientation. So I ask you a question. If I say, play a C power chord, do you know exactly where it is in like 10 milliseconds? Or here? Or maybe here? Do you know that? Or if I say play an F sharp power chord, do you know that? Or here? If I say play an E flat minor pentatonic, do you know that? No? Okay, then you should keep listening, because today we are doing the basics for fretboard orientation. And by the way, I'm a German native speaker, so please excuse my English. If you want to correct something like Bernd, don't say that, you're going to say it like that, please do so in the comments. I appreciate that. The first step in fretboard orientation is to know the major scale, and to be precise, the C major scale, on every string. So the notes of the major scale, which are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, on every string, starting at the open string, which is also the first note, on every string by heart. And in this video, I will show you how to practice that and get it in your head in less than 4 weeks. So let's start. First, you have to know that the structure of a major scale has half note steps and whole note steps. Half note steps are between E and F and B and C. E, F, B, C are half note steps, so one fret is a half note, one chromatic step, and all the others have whole tone steps. If we start at E, you probably say, oh, there's the first one. Yeah, and there is the first one. From E, like 0 fret, like open string, to the first fret, F. So you remember E, F. Then whole tone to the G, whole tone to the A. And this is our first exercise. You will play those 4 notes while saying their names. Say my name, say my name. E, F, G, A. E, F, G, A. You will do that 7 times, because 7 is the magic number to remember something. Do it 7 times. Then you do it another 7 times backwards. So you play A, G, F, E. A, G, F, E. Okay? Step 1. For the E string, we just need one more step and we have all the notes. Oh, that's great, right? So we start here at the next note. From A, the next note is B on the 7th fret. And you also remember maybe that I said from B to C is another half step. So there's the first half step of that portion of the exercise. Second step, right? So you have B, C, D, E. B, C, D, E. You do that 7 times, and then you do it 7 times the other way around. E, D, C, B. E, D, C, B. 7 times. So you have 4 parts of this first exercise. Part 1, E, F, G, A. Part 2, A, G, F, E. Part 3, B, C, D, E. Part 4, E, D, C, B. This exercise takes into consideration how our brain works. So this is the best way to learn those notes. Now you ask, what do we do above the 12th fret? Yeah, above the 12th fret, it's the same again, because the 12th fret is exactly the same as the open strings. So the strings are E, A, D, G, B, E, and the notes on the 12th fret are E, A, D, G, B, E. So you have again E, F, G, A, G, E, and then you have, if you have 24 frets, B, C, D, E, and E, D, C, B. You can do that again, but you don't have to because it's just the same as on the first 12 frets. Now you do everything with the next few strings. Everything you do with the next strings, which there are only 4 other strings left because the E string, there are the same notes, right? Not exactly the same notes, there are 2 octaves above that, but they have the same names. So you have E, F, G, A, like you have E, F, G, A. So you have only to do it on E, D, G, B. I show you quickly, not too quickly. You do the exercise steps, right? The first 4 notes up 7 times, the first 4 notes down 7 times, then the next notes up and down. The same as I showed you on the E string. You do the same on the A string, D string, G string, B string, E string. But first, I will show you something. After I told you the notes on the A string, okay? A, B, C, D, 7 times, and then D, C, B, A, then E, F, G, A, and A, G, F, B. Okay, the first 2 strings seen from below, like those 2, the E and A string, are the most important strings to know the notes on. They're just the most important. That doesn't mean the other ones are not important as well. And it doesn't mean that you should not learn the other strings as well. You should be able to find every note on every place right away, because that's how you communicate with other musicians. That's how you find notes. If somebody tells you play the A minor pentatonic, you can't play the A minor pentatonic if you don't know where A is. And you can't play a melody starting with the note A if you don't know where the note A or the note C or the note E is. You just have to know the names of the notes on the guitar. This is not negotiable. You can argue about if you want to be able to sight read music, right? But knowing the notes on the strings, the name of the notes, that's non-negotiable. Okay? So, but I show you a trick. If you're in a state where you know the E and A string, and the other ones are kind of gray area, there are 2 triangles you have to know. Okay, first triangle, we take the note G on the 3rd fret of the E string. Then, if you go 2 frets higher on the 5th fret and 2 strings higher on the D string, you have the same note. You have G, G, and as we already talked about, that the same note is on the high E string as is on the low E string. So you have this triangle. So you have G, 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 G. Okay, and there's another triangle. If you start on the A string and you do 2 frets higher, 2 strings higher, you have another G. And then on the next string, on the B string, 2 frets lower than your first note, it's also a G. So you have your next triangle. So you have G, 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 G. And here you have all strings covered. So if you have like this note, and you want to know what that note is, and you know this note, then you know it's an E. But you already seen, you have to like first call up the triangle and then know the note here. So it would be much easier to just know there is E, right? So that's just an intermediate trick. You should know, but just learn all the notes. If you do all of that, it takes you about, the first time around, maybe it takes you like 10 to 15 minutes, but you get faster. It only takes you like 5 minutes, like 4 or 5 days in. And you do that every day for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you know all the notes on the fretboard. That's your first step. That's your basic fretboard orientation. Oh, and by the way, I wrote a book on scales, which just came out. You can order it at Amazon.com and you can order it at Thomann. Thomann.de. and they also send to everywhere you want them to send to, America, Spain, whatever. There in this book, I tell you about everything scale related I learned and a very easy way to learn scales. And if you now subscribe to this channel, I will show you a lot more involving scales and how to easily navigate scales on the fretboard. Or, as I say in the book, guitar scales unlocked. You can find links to the book in the video descriptions. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and have any questions, have any wishes for future videos, just give me a note in the comments and I respond to that or do a video about it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.